Good metrics don't guarantee good demand generation. Sometimes, they just hide a broken system. Hello everyone, my name is Lucas and welcome to AnyBiz.io's YouTube channel. One of the most common questions SaaS teams ask is what good is supposed to look like. Everyone wants benchmarks because benchmarks create certainty, or at least the feeling of certainty. But metrics become dangerous when they are disconnected from context. A company can hit industry average numbers and still have a weak pipeline underneath. Another can look inefficient on paper while building a much healthier growth engine long term. That's why demand generation gets confusing so quickly in SaaS. Teams start optimizing isolated metrics instead of understanding whether the whole system is actually producing momentum. And that confusion usually gets worse once more tools enter the process. Which is why conversations like this matter now more than ever, especially if you're trying to separate activity from actual progress. Liking this video, subscribing, and ringing the bell should probably already be helping filter at this point instead of acting like background YouTube reflexes. Because once benchmarks stop being the full story, the real question becomes, what metrics actually tell you demand generation is healthy? Most SaaS teams track the same categories: email response rates, cost per lead, MQL to SQL conversion, SDR output. Those metrics matter, but only when you understand what they're actually measuring. Take email response rates, for example. Industry averages in B2B SaaS often sit around 1 to 3%, but that number alone says almost nothing. A low response rate could come from weak targeting, poor deliverability, irrelevant messaging, or simply reaching the wrong market at the wrong time. The same thing happens with cost per lead. Some SaaS companies operate comfortably at $50 per lead, while others spend far more because their audience is smaller and more specialized. So without context, benchmarks turn into pressure. The stronger companies are usually not the ones chasing the biggest numbers. They are the ones creating tighter alignment between targeting, messaging, timing, and follow-up. And that alignment matters even more now because SaaS outreach has become harder to sustain manually. Mean teams need structure behind the metrics. Otherwise, every campaign starts feeling disconnected from the next, which is exactly why AI SDR platforms started entering the conversation in the first place. This is where AnyBiz.io becomes valuable, because scaling demand generation is no longer about just increasing outreach volume. It's about building a process that stays organized, while personalization, follow-ups, and multi-channel communication all happen simultaneously, where outreach across email, LinkedIn, and AI cold calling can operate consistently without requiring founders or SDR teams to manually coordinate every moving part. You define the ICP, messaging direction, tone, and sequencing strategy, while the platform executes those workflows continuously in the background. And that matters because demand generation performance usually breaks through operational friction because the process itself becomes fragmented. AnyBiz helps reduce that fragmentation, while your CSM helps interpret the signals you're seeing and guides how to refine the setup over time. So instead of chasing isolated benchmarks, the focus shifts toward building a system where benchmarks improve naturally because the process underneath is stronger. And at that point, good demand generation stops looking like random spikes in performance and starts looking like consistency you can actually scale. The best SaaS demand generation systems are not the loudest ones. They're the ones where targeting, outreach, follow-up, and measurement all reinforce each other instead of competing for attention. If you want to see what that kind of structure looks like in practice, you can book a one-on-one consultation with one of our specialists and see how AnyBiz helps SaaS teams organize Outbound without adding operational chaos. And if you made it this far, you're probably already thinking about demand generation more structurally, which is usually the point where liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and ringing the bell, you start feeling less like a YouTube routine and more like a way of filtering for conversations that actually sharpen how you operate. Thank you so much for watching so far, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.